Woo! We out here, baby. We're trying something new, but them dogs just keep winning, Clint. They keep winning and winning and winning. Get you more fingers. You're going to need some more fingers pretty soon. We're going to talk about the UJ basketball team. Big road win to open conference play today on the Locked On Bulldogs podcast.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Locked On Bulldogs by Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. He is Daniel. I am Clint. Thanks for making us your first listen today. Game Time is sponsoring today's podcast. More on them in a minute, but we love Game Time.
Speaking of Game Time, Clint.
The Game Time came. It was time for tip-off.
Time for a game.
And I'm going to tell you this.
Columbia, Missouri.
We have, by the way, we have a lot of news to get to. The All-American game was happening. We have some news. Alabama's quarterback. We got people chirping off on that. Milroe, what's happening down there. We got transfer portals, Ole Miss transfer portal hits. But we're going to get to
about all of that.
Okay.
But not today.
But can I tell you, Daniel, as somebody who had at one point been reluctant to get behind the basketball dogs. I'll tell you this right now.
Cue the formal apology music.
I'll tell you this right now. I watched this game from start to finish, and I saw, when I say all the things I need to see in a basketball team, I mean all the things I need to see in a basketball team, Daniel. This was a complete game. This was on the road in the SEC. We were well ahead. We got behind. We got close, and then we finished it out and picked up the W. I saw so much. Where do you want to start with this game?
I love that intro by you because this is where I want to start. It's a plea to the Bulldog Nation. And it's not for me. And it's not for Mike White. And it's not for this basketball team. Let me help you. You're missing out on a really good time by not caring enough about this Georgia basketball team. There's so much to like, as you said. I think I'm going to touch on some of the things. I've got a page of notes on here, but it doesn't feel right to start by singling out an individual player.
Yes, thank you.
And so I want to start by saying the defensive rotation and intensity that this team plays with is unlike any Georgia team I've ever seen. The way that they rotate, Clint, and you see guys, and Missouri moves the freaking basketball, and it is flying around from person to person. And they move, they get by you, they make great plays. But the way this Georgia team has got guys just flying out to shooters on the three-point line, and everyone you see the rotation, one guy, next guy, next guy, next guy, and everybody gets home and forces a tough contested shot. The intensity on the defensive end is what's going to carry this Georgia basketball team. We knew that going in, and we know that now. We shot the ball a lot better today, and we're going to have to score to win. But the thing that this Georgia team hangs their hat on is defense, and I loved what I saw.
Daniel, was I I don't know if I was just an idiot, was a moron, wasn't paying attention when Mike White was announced. In my head, I thought, well, we're going to be better on offense because Mike White can go ahead and get some guys in there. Was I an idiot that I wasn't paying attention because Mike White all of a sudden elevated the defensive? And again, defense in college basketball, intensity, willingness. These are the keys that happen on defense. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. We are exceptionally better on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and I'm in a great mood. There's nothing that could dampen. I'm not going to call you an idiot, Clint. There's no need for us to go there.
Okay.
But Mike White is a defensive guy. He wants that. Now, are we going to be better on offense than Tom Crean? Yeah, because it's Tom Crean. But guess what? We're also going to be better on defense than Tom Crean because it's Tom Crean. And so Mike White is a significant upgrade defensively as a coach. Yeah. And you just don't know though. Georgia's starting Noah Thomason, his first SEC road game.
Right.
2 true freshmen played significant minutes in Blue Cane and Silas Demery, their first SEC road games. RJ Melendez, I know he played at Illinois. He's played in big games before, but there's so many newcomers to this team. You don't know what you're going to get.
Get to the name that I want you to get to.
All right. Let's start talking about some individual players. But before we get to individual players, I do think it needs to be said, yes, Georgia is going to have to score to win basketball games. But if Georgia defends like they did, particularly in the first half of this game, they can match up with anybody, because it's not just the ability to rotate.
No,
it's individual guys being willing to get in a stance, get in front of somebody, put their body on the line, and defend without fouling. Georgia was never in foul trouble in this game. No. And yet they played physical, tough defense.
And that's what I think is so phenomenal to me. And you could tell when we talk about culture, I mean, this is true of Kirby Smart and the Georgia football program. It's true of Mike White. And when you looked at Tom Crean's tenure, guys just had no interest because there was no buy-in. You couldn't convince. Mike White is convincing guys at the highest level. Defense is, again, it is grind. And he is convincing these high caliber guys that are coming in, transferring in as well as being part of our program, that can play, that have played at the highest level elsewhere. And they are buying into his system and his culture because they believe in it. And again, I know it's Missouri. You're going to say, it's Missouri. Okay, first of all, that is a good team.
No. Don't do that.
On the road. SEC.
Please don't look at their record 8-5 and say, "Oh, that's a bad Missouri team." Yeah, they lost to Kansas. They lost to Illinois. They lost to top 10 teams. That's who those 5 losses are to. Top 10 teams. This is a battle-tested, very good basketball team.
This is a big win.
It's a big win. And before we get to segment 2, we'll start talking about individual guys. Let me just broadcast to the future. Asa Newell, 5-star kid, already committed, already coming in next year. What's the first thing that Mike White says about him? He is a ready-to-go SEC defender in the paint right now. You can tell by the way he recruits what Mike White is trying to do. And when you get a 5-star top 10 player in the nation who says, "I want to hang my hat on defense, coach, and then I'll help the team offensively as much as I can," that's the guy that Mike White's looking for. And some good things happening in Athens. We got lots more to say about this game. We're going to talk about MVPs of the game, who we thought made the biggest plays right after this.
But first, FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel. FanDuel.com/LockedOn. They're the official sports book of Locked On Bulldogs and Locked On Podcasts everywhere. We love them. You should love them as well. NFL regular season is wrapping up. Still time to get on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. All you got to do is place $5 down.
Easy.
You get $150 in bonus bets straight back to you. That's for new customers. That's $150 in bonus bets. Win or lose. The app is so easy to use. So many different ways to bet. For instance, live same game parlays, live bet, and new Explorer tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays. Parlay Hub just sounds like a place I want to be.
That's a good time. The Parlay
and
Hub.
More. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
What if you took that $150 in bonus bets and you bet it on a +210 SEC road underdog? Clint, how'd that do for you? How would that do for you?
Well, it did really well for me, Daniel. It did really well for me.
To see it. You want to talk about Russell Chewa yet? Are we ready to talk about Russell Chewa?
Daniel, okay. Here's my problem. Let me tell you why Russell Chewa is in fact the reason why
we don't have any pre-show meeting or anything. It's just this man and I have been doing this for long enough. I know exactly who he wants to talk about and exactly what he's going to say, but I'm going to let him say it.
This man out here pulling points, rebounding, hard in the paint, this is what I've missed about college basketball and why it's been so difficult to get into Georgia basketball, because Russell hasn't been there. This is a force in the absolute best sense, and something that when I watch, I go, I think we can bang with anybody, because what will translate when you are missing shots, when things don't go your way, defensive rebounding and physicality will translate across the board.
You can carry it anywhere.
He can play anytime. And watching him hit the free throws down the stretch, get the double-double, It was everything I wanted to see from. So for me, he was the MVP of this game. There were other guys that excelled, but for me, the physicality in the SEC is what has been lacking a heart and soul to us on the hardwood. And now we have it. And my gosh, I was grinning ear to ear watching him play, Daniel.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This is a guy that has not played for a Georgia basketball team ever. Or maybe, or at least in a very long time. And it was a huge pickup when we first got him out of the transfer portal. But the way that you're seeing it pay dividends, and now in SEC play, the way that for him to have a game like that, maybe his best game of the year, and it's not like Missouri's a small team, they're a physical team.
Yeah.
And he absolutely owned the paint tonight. He's a monster inside. I want to talk about two other things about Russell Chewa before we get to my MVP. And one of them you mentioned, and that is the ability to hit free throws, Clint. It cannot be overstated when you have a 75+% free throw shooter and he's 7'1", 7'2". It is a huge weapon. He converts and ones with guys hanging all over him. He hits layups and he converts the and one. He gets fouled down the stretch and he hits 3 out of 4 free throws down the stretch in crunch time. 3 out of 4. By the way, Justin Hill, our backup point guard,
that's right,
senior, misses 2 huge free throws at the end of the game. Russell Chewa, the starting center, shoots great from the line. He's got great touch. I don't ever want to see him shoot a mid-range jumper in the game.
No.
But I love to see him shoot that 15-footer from the free throw line because he's got great touch. And then the second thing I want to say about him, that's obviously secondary to his ability, all the things you said, primarily what makes him great. But how about the way that he can get out there and get in a stance on the perimeter, Clint? This man can really move his feet. When you can switch, if you don't watch a ton of college basketball, but when you can switch 1 through 5, it changes the game. Because what teams love to do is you got a big, slow, clanky, big guy on the floor.
Yeah.
And so what do? You take your best ball handler and you bring your 5-man up to set a pick. And now guess what you've got? You got that big oaf of a defender guarding the best perimeter ball handler. Georgia's in so many rotations. I mentioned it earlier. And the way Russell Chewa can get out in a stance and move his feet, cut guys off on the baseline. He forced a couple of double teams. There's no telling how many turnovers he forced in this game. Now, he doesn't come up with a bunch of steals, but there's no telling how many turnovers he forced. He is a weapon, an offensive weapon for Georgia. And huge to have him on this team. My MVP of the game, Clint, is the true freshman Silas Demery. He's my favorite player on this team. And for him to go into a road environment and handle the ball the way that he did. Now, did he turn it over a few times in the first half? Yeah, he did. Did every guard who played for Georgia turn it over a few times? Yeah, Missouri's a good defensive team. But Silas Demery is a floor general. He is an improved shooter, which we saw today. And he is as tough and physical and ready for the big moment as any true freshman I've seen play at Georgia, including Anthony Edwards. And I'm not saying he's as good as Anthony Edwards, but if you're just talking about poise and readiness for the moment,
that's right.
He is on that same level. He walked into that environment and believed that he was the best player on the floor. I'm going to take you to early second half, Clint. Georgia is struggling. They've gotten up to a 17-point lead, and the end of the first half was all Missouri, and they just chopped and chopped and chopped, and all of a sudden Georgia finds themselves early in the second half clinging to a 1-point lead, tie game, 2-point lead, whatever it is. First 3 possessions of the second half for Georgia offensively, Silas Demery is fouled on all 3 possessions. He gets to the line. He scores some easy points. He settles the game down offensively. He's that kind of a player, Clint. And he might be Georgia's most physical rebounder and he's a 6'5" point guard.
He bangs in there. That's what I mean. Like the thing that impresses me the most is when you look at teams like this. This is why teams that have struggled in the dance when you get to March Madness, like when you have top talented rating wise players that aren't physical, aren't willing to bang, aren't disciplined, teams like that go to the wayside. And sure, you might go ahead and get drafted in the top 5, might get a lotto pick. That's great. But college basketball wise, the product is not good for those teams. But you get a guy like this who is who can just score, just get his buckets as well as
to the rim and score. Yeah.
I'm willing to get here. You mentioned it, Danny. We're gonna come back after break, but just we were shooting lights out. We ended the game 3-pointers, 42%, 12 of 28 from 3. Great percentage, great shooting. We started off just gangbusters. Like that first half, we couldn't miss.
Yep.
Second half, we
had to grind. Had to grind.
And that's I think those 7 to 8 minute run right there. That was what was so impressive to me. It's easy when buckets are falling. You're getting Raheem later will get a little bounce in, which really solidified late in the second half. But if you can go ahead and grind it out, that's where I know this team is fantastic. And so I don't disagree with you. He played exceptionally well. We're going to come back after this, have more thoughts for this Georgia program. But first, I want you to know about Game Time. Game Time, download
where
the Game
you need
Time
to go
app
to get your Georgia basketball tickets, friends, because this team's worth watching.
Get to the Steg, get in, watch this team. They are going to be competitive. It's SEC play. We cannot overstate the win for this. And if you want SEC tickets for Georgia, go to Game Time. Use promo code Locked On College for $20 off your first ticket. It's very simple. It's very easy. Go to the app, download the app or gametime.co. You put in last minute tickets and they're phenomenal with this. Even after the game has already started. Don't think just because the game started, you can't get it. No, go to the Steg, go to the app.
Don't buy it from a scalper off the street. That man is selling you a bill of goods, my friend.
And those goods aren't good. They are gone. No, and he is gone also.
Gone.
So don't worry about that. Head over instead to Game Time. Download the app. Daniel and I use them. We love them. We got the Kentucky game last year for Georgia against Kentucky in the football game. And it goes straight to your phone. Safe, reliable. Use promo code Locked On College, $20 off right now.
Clint, you mentioned the shooting numbers, and I think it's worth saying before we get into other guys that stood out to us. I mentioned earlier, Georgia's going to have to score if they're going to win in SEC play. But all along, if you've been listening, and I've been listening, if you've been listening, all along, Mike White has had this quiet confidence about him. When he's interviewed, when he's asked questions, he just will say things like, we're a lot better shooting team than we've shown so far. We're going to shoot it a lot better than we've shot it so far. I see these guys shoot it in practice every day. We're going to shoot it a lot better than we've shot it so far. And he hasn't said much about it, but there's just been this quiet confidence. And what do you know, Clint? Well, looky here. Georgia, it's not just Jabri Abdur-Rahim, who, by the way, we haven't talked enough on this podcast. That he's turned into an unbelievable 3-point shooter, Clint.
When we're coming down the floor and we're kicking it out to him over in the corner, and I am raising my hands.
God knows where. Like he is, we're on the Steph Curry type range here.
That's right.
He missed several, though, down the stretch in this game. Very uncharacteristic for him. But Georgia got the shooting that they needed. And credit to Mike White. He sort of seems like he knew that all along, that was going to come around. That's what this Georgia team needs if they're going to keep winning. And one of the guys that has shot it a ton better now than he did early in the season is RJ Melendez, Clint. That's who I want to talk about next, because this guy's always been a hard worker. He's always been hard-nosed, tough, good defender, can get downhill, can get to the basket. But Mike White, again, over and over, going to say, RJ's a good shooter. He's a good shooter. He could shoot the three a lot better than he has so far. Started the season like 2 of 1 million from 3-point land. And since then, though, has turned it around. And you saw a little bit of it in this game. He made a couple big shots in this game. He's playing a ton better. And Georgia they got so many guys like this, Clint, that can really hurt you on the offensive side of the floor. They don't have to lean on one guy, 2 guys, 3 guys. They can, and when they do move the ball around, they're going to get good looks.
Yes.
And they've got a ton of guys that can make them.
That's, again, when you look at previous teams, you try to look for faults in teams, especially in SEC play. You're going to have to grind it out sometimes. You're going to have to hit 3-pointers. The game is not that you don't come and demand that things go your way for a specific thing. Within the court, you have to understand, okay, if somebody got the hot hand, feed them the hot hand, and let's see where it goes.
Yep.
You got to grind. Okay, with this Georgia team, all of a sudden, ball movement and what Mike White has going on, there are shooters up and down, and he is confident in it, and I am confident in it because I've seen them. Guys can get their buckets. We are not dependent. We're not pigeonholed to where if somebody takes somebody out of it, all of a sudden, Chiwa goes up against Purdue, say, or somebody else who another big man who's just going to
in the Final Four when Georgia makes the Final Four and they go up against Purdue. That's obviously it's the overreaction show. By the way,
clearly, I am saying
clearly that's what's going to happen. Yeah,
we got other guys that can supplement our game. Daniel, it is just up and down all the way through. Anything else stand out to you about this basketball team?
If there's one guy that is a go get me a shot guy, though, it's Noah Thomason. Yep. And we saw him today in his first SEC game on the road. He hit some ridiculous shots, especially in the first half when Georgia went on that run. When he's cooking, he can flat out get it. And we saw a great balance of he was cooking, but he didn't force anything in this game. And when that's the recipe for Georgia to be a danger, a threat, to beat anyone in the SEC is
you heard him, by the way.
When guys are confident enough to go get their shots, but no one is selfish enough to not give it up and look for a better shot. That's exactly the style Mike White wants to play. And you absolutely heard me. Kentucky, Auburn, Tennessee, Georgia can beat any of those teams.
We just put every single sports writer, SEC sports writer, every single person that covers, you heard it on the post-game reaction from a couple of guys, national writers talking about, okay, Georgia, we see you. This was a put you on notice. Mike White went up to Missouri and put people on notice.
Yeah, he did.
And you shouldn't I know, again, overreaction. Okay, sure. But also, I saw Kentucky play Florida.
Yep.
Okay.
You better start to pay attention. I'm just telling you.
Let's go.
You better start to pay attention.
Okay, Daniel, really quick, something else as we're wrapping up. Nate Frazier, running back recruit coming in to Georgia. He played in the All-American game, and
how'd that go for you?
I have feels.
Does he have feelings?
Word out of Athens is that we might have some injury in the running back room. Yep. Guys coming back. Nate Frazier is a freshman. We've talked about freshmen having success.
One of those three. We said one of those three freshmen gonna pop. Nate Frazier said, "I'd like to volunteer for the role,
and I will gladly take your volunteerism, sir, because that dude can fly.
Absolutely,
he's got hands.
I love to see it, and we need it because we need depth at the running back position. We absolutely need it.
Yes, we do. This has been Locked On Bulldogs, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. We'll see you all next week where we have more to break down. SEC play keeps going. Georgia football keeps going. We will see you guys all then.
See ya.